Hello everyone! Welcome back to my second channel, The Quickie Cat Beyond. If you haven't already, I have a first channel where I do redesigns so you could see characters visually about how they would look this way or that way. And this is my second channel where I talk about like the lore of those redesigns. So I'll have my channel linked, and I do have for this topic my Pride as Cats redesigns on that channel too. So if you want to check that out too. One thing you want to know before we go into this is that the cat lore and the human lore are linked together. They have like some, linked lore, and it's a bit different from like the different perspectives. So cat perspective isn't all accurate to like the human perspective of the lore and the religion, and they are both set in different timelines. So with that being said, I also have the human redesigns will be linked in the description below as well. So if you want to check that out as well. And one more last thing is that some of the footage that I was screen recording when I was doing the speed paint was that some of it did not get saved, and there is no way for me to recover it all. So if you see a random, how like randomly it just managed to get a bunch of drawing, like the shading that wasn't there before, that's because there was a time skip. So yeah, that's unfortunate. But anyways, on with the video. So starting off with the beginning of the religion, we have 3 human goddesses: Moon, Sun, and Storm. They are responsible for different, the species. They are responsible for like creating the world, and they, out of all the species that they created, they favored cats. But these aren't the domestic cats you think. These are the lions, the tigers, the jaguars, the cougars, all those big cats. They wanted one of their own. They wanted to create an immortal form of the cat. So they created the domestic cat, the small cat that you see today. They named them after themselves and were given the same abilities. There was Suns, Kansu, and Azra. They had a great relationship with their cats and had a strong bond and got along very well, and they loved their cats. So their cats, Kansu, Azra, and Suns, decided that they would make mortal forms of themselves so that they could roam their land. But these cats were small and were helpless at times, so they relied on the humans for their protection. The humans, mortal humans, and mortal cats lived in harmony in the world. They relied on each other for survival. Humans provided protection and food and companionship, and the cats provided companionship and hunting of the pests and helped provide like the livestock, since the pests were eating the crops, and that meant that people would not be able to eat unless the pests were gone. And the cats helped bring the numbers down, so it was perfect bonding. And many humans had cats as pets, and they admired cats, and humans admired humans. Cats admired humans, and vice versa. Light, one of the cats that lived with humans, he fell in love with Kyoga. But Kyoga did not love him the same way. She loved him dearly as a friend, and only a friend, whilst she loved Karabi, and Karabi loved Kyoga. They decided that they would leave the area and would go with the human traveler that they were very fond of. And so was the traveler. He decided that he would take them with him, and they would leave the area by themselves. They were not happy with the place was, human or Kyoga or Karabi, and they wanted to leave since they knew that they didn't fit into this world. Light ended up catching them, and he was furious and upset. He didn't want them to leave. He couldn't believe that Kyoga didn't actually have feelings for him, and Karabi was wary of him, mainly because she did not trust him. He ended up killing Karabi, and Kyoga was heartbroken and could never see Light the same way again. So Kansu is actually the one that intervenes here. She's the one that actually sees, but the human actually just takes Kyoga with him, and they leave the place since Kyoga did not want to stay there, especially since Light lived there. Light was furious and he was the only one there to tell the story. So he ends up going back to the civilization, and he ends up telling the story about how the human actually killed Karabi and not him, and the human took Kyoga away, and they were never seen again. And the cats trusted Light. Light was he was considered trustworthy and a very noble cat, very loyal. He had a good reputation among them, so they would trust what he said. But they never would have guessed that Light was actually telling a huge lie. This lie made the cats grow suspicious of the humans. He ended up telling more lies about them, saying how they're gonna poison the food, that they're gonna lose trust in them, and that humans are going to eat the cats, and that they just stop feeding on the pests so that the pests can get the crops, and the humans would not have any food. Of course, this would happen in reverse. Since there was no crops and the humans could not harvest any food, many of the humans started to starve, and they had no choice but to eat the cats, since it's the only thing available to them. And this made the cats grow even more distrust in the humans. The humans were confused to why there were so many damage to the crops, since all the rodents, the pests, and the insects were eating them. And the humans started disliking the cats and blamed them for this famine. Over time, they started growing more distrust, and the relationship ended up breaking apart. And so did it with the goddesses as well. Moon, Sun, and Storm, the human goddesses, were blaming their pets, saying that it's their fault and that they believed that they were convincing the cats to stop. But from the cats' perspective, Azra, Sun, and Kansu, they saw it as their humans' fault, since the humans were being cruel and inhumane to the cats, especially since they were eating them. But they could not see eye to eye. But Kansu, although in the heat of the moment she knew that having this bias towards them was not helping, and she was actually the one who saw what actually happened, so she decided to, come up with the truth and tell them. But of course, they were all upset and would not believe her. So in the present day, as Light already created clans, we have now new rankings and a new way of life for humans and cats. So now that cats are feral and they want nothing to do with humans, it is seen as noble and highly traditional and the right way to live. So in good clans, the head of the clan is called a head claw, and the hunt chief, or the cat equivalent of a hunt chief, would be a aid claw, and below them is the underclaws. The underclaws are the low ranking. The aid claw is like the second in command, the most trusted when it comes to the head claw, and the head claw is in charge of the clan. Each one has their respected roles, and they do have other roles with like specific roles, but they don't actually have names. Usually it's like a scout, or maybe like the one that just watches over the camp. But other than that, there are other names that are referred to other cats, like the loners, which are clanless cats. And then you have the house cats, which are cats that are still with humans. This is considered like unethical way of living and disrespectful, considering that the bitterness cats and humans have had for so many years. At least it's what it seemed like. There are house cats in this world, and they are not introduced to the religion, which is probably why they're still house cats. And the whole premise of this story is that nothing has to find the human goddesses, since they've been missing for a long time, and so have the cats goddesses. But Kansu knows where they are. Well, at least she knows the location, but she doesn't know exactly where they are, and how can she find them. She needs Nothing's help so that she can find them, but she isn't able to, since she cannot identify where they're at, mainly because the human goddesses are transformed into mortal forms, so they're roaming around in the human civilization. And this is modern day time, so like we're talking about like the city. And she has no idea where they're at or where they could be, but she does know that Moon, the human goddess, has a mortal cat that she created, and his name is Ghost. Since Azra refuses to take the souls of house cats, she instead has Ghost. Ghost is just a physical embodiment of a mortal cat. All the little house cats that ever died, or all the strays, or any cat that was with humans or had a relationship with humans, they all go and they're all stuck in Ghost. This is why Ghost has so much knowledge about the human world, because of all the cats and all the places they've been, on the streets, in their houses, on the roofs, in the backyards, the parks. They have a lot of knowledge of where everything's at, which is why Ghost is the one that's going to be helping Nothing so that she could find her way around the human world. She also has to learn how to make her way around there, since it's such a different place. So it's Nothing's job to be able to find the 3 human goddesses and bring them back to their pets so that they can rekindle the relationship they once had as companions, and to break the cycle of the clans and cats having, clan cats and humans having this bitter. Of course, remember, this is the cat's perspective, so it's not accurate to the humans' lore, but it does have some link to it. So if Nothing could do that, then clan cats will not be having to suffer in the wild, considering that cats in the wild don't live as long and healthy lives as cats in like domestic cats, like in homes. They could live like around like maybe 7 to 5 years or 8, but in like cats that live in like, neighborhoods, houses that take, regular trips to the vet, they can live much longer and healthier lives than cats that live out in the wild. So that's the whole point of Nothing's journey, is to be able to break this cycle of toxicity that light brought upon the world and be able to stop the bitterness between humans and cats. So yeah, that's about it for the lore. I do still have some more time, so I'm just gonna tell you what's going on in the scene. So this is the scene where Nothing shows Hover about the clan, and where she tries to convince her to stay. Of course, Hover agrees, and she just wants to make Nothing happy and doesn't want her to be by herself and doesn't want to keep the relationship secret anymore. So she decides to give up her freedom to stay with Nothing in the clan. And in this scene, Nothing's a little happy, but she's also a little wary because she knows it's going to be a little difficult to convince them. And of course, everyone's watching her, since they see as being a loner as like a bad thing. Also, they probably assume that she's probably a house cat or something. Anyways, that's it for now. See you guys next time. Next one will probably be my pride as dragon, so look out for that. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys have a great day, and goodbye.